You're going to need scissors, a curved needle and thread, some T-pins, a dome cap of your choice, and your bundles. I'm using 4 bundles in the closure today. The mannequin head or the block head I'm using is 22 inches in circumference, and this particular dome cap I'm using is my favourite so far because it has a wide elastic band in it, so I don't need to think of sewing in my own, which helps with security. It's important to not sew through the elastic band when attaching the first track and the closure because this could affect the elasticity of the unit. I begin by sewing or knotting the 2 bundles together just so that they're joined from the get-go. So as this unit will have 4 bundles in it, I'm going to double weft for most of the way. The sewing technique I used is called a blanket stitch. However, as I do double my wefts, I do it in a special way, so pay attention. I figured that in some cases when you double your weft, or with other people's wigs that I've analysed, when they double their wefts, they can get a slight bulge because obviously it's 2 wefts stacked on top of each other. So I came up with a method that allows me to go through the bottom weft and sew around the top one. So it's holding the bottom one in place and that loop holds the top one in place at the same time. That to me gives the flattest install ever. So you're lying them in 2 different positions. One has been sewn through so it's flatter, and the other one, rather than being sewn on top, is secured in place. I use the flip over method, and how I do this is because the tracks are at different levels, I drop the top track and I continue on with the lower one. So I sew onto the edge of the cap. Then I flip over with that and sew back in the direction that I'm planning to continue in. So I'm constantly transferring from top to bottom, top to bottom, top to bottom. The track that was at the top becomes the track that's on the bottom because as I flipped over, it's changed its position. Then you continue on.
Please excuse my hands, guys. I'm just seeing this now. I can't believe they were this dry throughout the whole video.
The blanket stitch is a loop and pull method. Some people will loop it once. I just loop it twice for extra security. So I pierce the needle through the track and loop the thread around twice and pull it through so that it creates a knot as you go along. I've just slowed down this area in case my visuals and my explanation earlier didn't make much sense or were unclear. So normally I'd see people sewing the closure on first. When I reach just above the ear area, that's when I decide to attach the closure. So again, I'm using that blanket stitch, and ensure that your stitches are tight. Not necessarily tight, but they're narrow. Gappy stitches, they're not that great, number one. Number two, they don't look as neat. Your bundles will be hanging off in some senses. So the tighter the stitch, the more condensed or packed together the loops are, the better. That doesn't mean that there should be no space between your stitches, but just space them out in moderation. T-pins are very important in this stage because they help to stretch out the closure to ensure that it's taut. Sewing on a closure that has ridges in it is not going to get you that flat install. So you have to stretch the closure out with your T-pins, pin them into place. That will give you the flattest, most natural looking install ever. It's time to cut the cap from underneath to closure. Ensure quite a bit. Take great care to not cut too close to the stitches. You're going to have a hard time fixing that. It's so long and unnecessary. So precision is so key at this point. So the way other people sew their wigs, they just sew back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. However, personally, in terms of placement and how the hair lays down on your face or frames your face, I angle my bundles or I angle my wefts around the closure area. So I sew in a diagonal manner. I start to raise the wefts a bit when I'm around the closure area, just so that the hair can fall in not too much of a fixed way. Track placement is your best friend with closure units. The way you sew can affect how your unit looks. Placement really just is where you place the tracks, how you angled them, how you sew the stitching, maybe not the stitching you use, but all of these affect the hairstyle. So I'm sewing from the track, from that horizontal track to the edge of the closure or the cap around that area. I'm closing the gap with an angle. This to me just allows the unit to look a lot more natural, number one, and the hair frames the face in a better way to me when it's done like this. having done this on both sides, I return to my U formation and I close up the rest of the unit in this way. The area will become a lot more narrow, and at this point I'm single wefting, no more double. I want to achieve a flat install. My unit has to be flat, my wig has to be flat. We're not looking for any hair hats over here. No hair hat zone, or maybe even a hoodie, because some of these, let me not talk too much. When you get to the top, you're just going to have to sew horizontally. At this point, you're joining the closure and the weft together with your stitch. So it's important to sew the weft as close to the closure as possible and ensure that when I'm looping the needle, it's going through that protective band or protective perimeter that's around the closure. There you have it, you have completed my closure unit bootcamp. I will leave the link for my how to customize a closure video. But thank you for watching, guys. We are done. I hope you can slay with your wig that's flat. Sponsored by me.
Don't forget to subscribe, thumbs up, even drop a comment. Let me know if I helped you out, if I taught you anything new, and see you next time. Bye.